Have you ever looked at a character in a game or a comic and just thought, wow, they're unforgettable? It's not just about a cool costume or flashy power. There's so much more to it. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and break down how you create characters that actually feel alive.
You know, it all really starts with one single, incredibly powerful idea, the entire foundation of great character design. Really, it all rests on just one little word.
Intent. That's it. That's the word, and it's probably the most important concept we're going to talk about, because intent is the why behind every single decision you're about to make.
So if intent is the foundation, what holds the whole thing up? Well, there's one core rule you have to live by. You never ever stop learning. Character design isn't some skill you just master and then you're done. No way. It's a constant journey of growth.
Okay, so what does it actually mean to design with intent? Let's get into it.
So before your pen even hits the tablet, before you draw a single line, you have to have a plan. Your intent, it's your North Star. It's what answers all the big questions, like, what's this character's purpose in the story? What's their personality like? And, this is a big one, what kind of world do they actually live in?
Let's make this feel a little more real. I want you to meet Sasha Shrapnel. We're going to build her together. So her intent is laid out right here. She's an impulsive weapons expert in this sort of low sci-fi world. But psychologically, here's the kicker. She uses all this oversized gear to hide a really deep-seated fear. Every single one of these points is a critical piece of our design puzzle.
So we've got our intent locked down. But hold on, we don't just jump straight into sketching. Nope. First, we have to create a blueprint. And this blueprint is just two simple but absolutely critical steps. First, you've got to verbalize your concept. Yeah, that means write it down. And second, you organize all your visual ideas.
Seriously, the absolute best way to get a concept out of your head and into the real world is to write it all down. Flush out the backstory, their motivations, their little quirks. The act of writing actually clarifies your thinking and gives your design this solid emotional and intellectual core to build on.
Okay, once you've got your written concept, you build its visual twin, a mood board. This is where you just go nuts collecting images, textures, colors, anything that resonates with your character. And look, it's not about copying stuff. It's about synthesizing all these different ideas to create a unique visual vocabulary for your design.
All right, now we're ready to draw. This is the fun part, right? This is where we translate all that planning, our intent, our blueprint, into an actual living, breathing character.
Look, your first sketches, they shouldn't be perfect or clean. They need to be messy, gestural, full of energy. You're trying to explore the character's core feeling, so just focus on their overall shape, their silhouette. Does it read clearly from a distance? Does it tell you something about their personality at just a glance?
And this right here, this is the power of shape language in action. With Sasha, all that bulky gear creates a huge silhouette. That's her projected identity, tough, protected. But then you see these little parts of her actual body showing through, creating smaller, more fragile shapes. And that tells you her true emotional state, vulnerability. That contrast is what makes a character feel real.
Now here's a trap we all fall into. Avoiding the hard stuff, right? Like hands or feet. We just try to hide them. But you can't do that. A strong design is a complete design. So instead of hiding from your weaknesses, you gotta find good reference and just tackle them head on. Trust me, it's gonna make you work so much better.
Every single detail, and I mean every one, has to serve the character's story. For Sasha, her mask, it's not just a generic gas mask. It shows her rebellious spirit. The patches, they're all part of the identity she's trying to project. And this is so important. Even though her face is hidden, you have to design it. Knowing what's underneath informs every single other choice you make. Okay, so we've got our shapes, we've nailed down our details, we're telling a story. Now it's time to bring it all to life with the final and maybe most powerful element, color.
But before you even think about picking red or blue, you have to understand value. That's just the lightness or darkness of a color. Why does it matter so much? Because our eyes are naturally drawn to the point of highest contrast. Your lightest light next to your darkest dark. Bam! That's your focal point.
Let's look at Sasha's palette. Her mask is the lightest value, and it's right next to her hair, which is the darkest value. This creates this incredibly powerful point of contrast that pulls your eye directly to her face, which is exactly where we want you to look. The other colors, the orange and blue, they're midtones. They help her feel like she belongs in her world.
Here's a super practical pro tip for you. If you're working digitally, just constantly flip your image to grayscale. It completely removes the distraction of color and instantly shows you if your values are working. You'll see right away where your focal points are and if they're in the right spot. It's like a cheat code.
So, all this brings us to a really crucial point. This whole process, it's not a straight line from A to B. It's more like a loop, which, hey, brings us right back to that second core rule we started with.
Please don't think of these stages as some rigid formula you have to follow perfectly. Real creative work is messy. You might get all the way to coloring and then realize, you know what, the silhouette is just not working. That is totally okay. Go back, change it. Being willing to refine and iterate at any stage is what separates good work from truly great work.
And this all leads to a huge mindset shift. To really, truly improve, you have to stop looking at art passively, like a consumer. You have to start analyzing it. When you see a design you love, ask yourself why it works. Deconstruct it. Think about the intent behind every little choice. You have to start thinking like a creator.
You know, this entire process we just broke down, there's a good chance it'll feel outdated in 5 years. And honestly, that's a good thing. It means we're all growing and changing and improving. The tools will change, the trends will shift, but those core principles of intent and continuous learning, they're forever. So the real question isn't just what you learn today, it's what are you going to learn next?